If everybody's ready to get started, I think we'll start with the roll call.
Boesiger, Westergaard,
Here.
Vasconcelos,
Here.
Donellan,
Here.
Nancolis.
He's online.
We see him online. We're not able to hear him, but he's here for the quorum and the meeting. General Donellan. Did I already call him? Okay.
Yeah.
Got a little bit out of order. Sorry, I apologize. Cunningham. Present, and Conklin. I think we have a quorum.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda.
I apologize. My mic was on mute and I am here. I apologize.
Good morning, Mayor. Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is the minutes. I see that are there any corrections? Has anybody read those minutes and any corrections to present?
I move that we approved as written.
In favor? Aye. All right, motion carries. Next item up for on the agenda is unfinished business. We don't have any unfinished business, so we'll just go ahead and move next to our director.
Good morning. Thank you all for being here. Wow, we have a full room this morning. Lots of interesting things that are going on at the airport. Commissioner Chair, do you think maybe we might introduce our new student commissioner? Would you like to?
Yeah, I was gonna reserve it for the commissioner comments, but yeah, as you probably all noticed, there's a new member at the commission table. Miles Conklin is our new student member. Miles is a senior at Boise High and heavily engaged in the general aviation community.
Well, I'll jump into the director's report. It's been a busy month here, as it often is at the Boise Airport. We opened our public parking garage. There's still some final work that we're doing around the public garage. There's a couple of lots that we're in the process of paving. The curbs and light poles have been installed. We're also working on some of the technology for the pay on foot and some of the other technology related to revenue control and passenger service. Those things are coming together. We hope to have this fully done by Thanksgiving. I will say the parking garage has been more popular than we had anticipated even, and we're seeing it fairly full, but knock on wood, still garage parking available close to the terminal if anybody wants it. Employee garage continues as well. We're still hoping to have this open in the spring of 24. We've been working on the stairs for the garage and also the metal fascia for framing on the metal panels. So that's the garage that you see from the interstate, and there's about 700 spaces on that, and that is continuing to move forward. When you walked in this morning, if you walked in on the east end of the terminal, you may have noticed that we have some plastic draping around the rotunda, and you probably thought, I wonder what they are doing there. Well, let me tell you, we are installing new skylights, and also we are installing some suspension supports. So that way, if we want to hang art from the rotunda in the future, which is one of our future art projects, we can do that. So that should be done by mid-October, and then the skylights will be done by the spring. On the airfield side, we're working on a couple of different projects. We're working on phase 2 of Taxiway Whiskey. We completed this in 2 different phases. We completed the earlier phase this summer, just before Gowan Thunder. The 10 right is closed due to the construction because that's taking place in the safety area. The paving actually started on the 2nd. It'll take 3 days and the whole project itself will be completed by mid-October. Taxi Lane November and Sierra Extension. We are relocating a vehicle service road that was paved on the 11th of last month. The Taxi Lane Extension was also paved on the 11th. And then we're just doing kind of final punch list items on those projects. Also, on the east side of the airfield, we have the southeast hangar access road. This will allow access to future corporate hangar locations along with the taxiway. This is over, for those of you who are not familiar with it, familiar with the airfield, over by where SkyWest is. We'll be working on lighting and fencing as well. And as I said, it'll provide access to future hangars. As we know, parking is incredibly important, part of flying to and from the Boise airport, and we don't do the parking management ourselves. We actually have a contractor to do that. We did an RFP. We had a panel and they selected the Car Park, which is a local Boise company. They also happen to be the company that provides our valet service. It was a very competitive process. I think we had three proposals. So we'll be entering into a 3-year contract with them, which will begin on November 1st. And there'll be 2 1-year extension options for that. So we're excited to work with them. And many of you who've been here for a while, if you've ever done one of our airport tours, you probably had a demonstration from Corporal Damer. He was our canine officer there with his last canine explosive detection dog, Lubo. He was with the Boise airport for 23 years. He had, I won't read you the slide because you can all read, but he was a great contribution to the airport. He always was one of the first people on scene if we had something that was unusual or someone needed assistance or attention. Just a tremendous asset, and we will miss him. We do have another dog in training to replace him. We actually have 3 canine officers, so we have 2 here and 1 in training. Thank you, Commissioner Westergaard, for attending our ribbon cutting with us and representing the Airport Commission. We celebrated the grand opening of Black Market Gelato. This is really exciting to me because this is our first industrial property that we opened as part of our non-aeronautical property development program that we had been working on for a couple of years. So it's nice to see this come to fruition, and I couldn't be more excited to have gelato here at the airport. I also wanted to point out that Jill Singer and Jill is sitting here in the back. She was recently selected to serve on the Northwest AAAE board. That's the American Association of Airport Executives for 23-24. And I'm sure she will represent our airport and our region. We also hosted for our employees, we hosted an end of summer appreciation event to celebrate all of the things that the team has achieved throughout the year, but especially over the summer. It's been a busy time. We had 2 parties, one during the day and one for the night crew. Colonel Kornberg also made a guest appearance to thank our team for the work that we put in for going strong, but recognizing their efforts on the Part 139 inspection, our FAA audit, all of that work that went into the parking garage, we implemented new security badge screening, our security badge management system. Just so many different things going on that we wanted to recognize and thank our employees for. Today, we are sponsoring, and I think some of you are attending, the Chamber CEO Series event with the CEO for Micron, Sanjay, and I won't try to say his last name because I will say it wrong, but I think we all know who he is, the CEO for Micron, and we're excited to hear what he has to say about future development and what it means for our region. And of course, we're specifically interested on how that will impact the Boise airport. I wanted to mention this. I don't know if some of you had heard this. Many of you probably have known Ed Stimson. I did not realize until after the fact, but Ed was actually enshrined in the National Aviation Hall of Fame. He was a long-serving airport commissioner, and I know Commissioner Carlson served with him. Commissioner Boesiger, I don't know if you ever met him in his tenure here, but he was the first president of the General Aviation Manufacturers Association, very well known and respected throughout the aviation community. He was integral in actually keeping our tower here in Boise. For those of you who remember that, argument that was before my time, but he was instrumental in that. And so I just wanted to bring this up because I think it's an important tribute to him and an important role that he played for our commission. As I mentioned, it's been a busy summer and passenger travel was up again 4% over last August. And we continue to see travel increase. So year to date, we continue to exceed 2022 numbers by 9%. 2023 is 9% ahead. For the year to date. I can't actually read this on my screen because I see everybody's faces where you see the changes. Oh, you see it too. Here, let me move this. I thought that didn't show that on the screen. That's to the bottom. All right, so probably the most substantial change here is the change in landing fees, and we've talked about this before. It really is due to the fact that we've changed the way we calculate airline landing fees when we renegotiated our airline lease agreement that we talked about last year. So that is the most significant change. We do have a few things that have changed on our expenses. Personnel that has increased mostly because we have added personnel to accommodate the growth that we're seeing. The parking management, again, those rates continue to be up due to increased credit card fees because we're doing more credit card charges, shuttling, and also some of the timing of payments. The R&M, electrical, structural and plumbing, we've done a number of improvements. I can go through those with you if you want, but those are just ordinary maintenance things, timing of things, and just routine preventative maintenance that we're doing. On the power, that has to do to a change in our power cost adjustment that went into effect on June 1st. The estimated percent increase was 20%, but it's actually, dependent on usage, and it's a 19% increase, which is in line with what we expected. The chemical increase was because we ordered chemicals at the end of the season last year in bulk. And then some other things, minor equipment. We also purchased some equipment. We purchased some Motorola radios, which is important for our team, and then some new motors for our baggage handling system. And some additional desks and cubicles for our expanded work areas. Madam Chair, that concludes my report.
Thank you. It
Has been busy, yes.
Welcome, Meg.
Apologize for being late. Had a person who saw the sign of long-term parking closed and stuck. He just sat there going, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. So I waited for him to calm down, and figure out what to do next. So finally he pulled out, but
No, I was wondering whether it said full,
you did.
and I wondered if it really was full.
Well, you couldn't get in because the sign was right in front.
So it
Yeah.
probably was full. The first, our primary garage
Right.
tends to fill up first. And then we do have overflow.
He was
Parking.
Valley County, so I don't think he went to the airport.
Yeah, that second garage is pretty full.
Yep. Already in plans for another?
We have concept plans for another. It's not even funny. Yeah, no, it's too soon.
Yeah, right, sorry. Well, I think we'll move on to commissioner comments. Bill, would you like to start?
Yeah, following up, I think that what you just talked about evidences the need for one more sign to say long-term parking east garage where you're supposed to turn in. Because this guy passed it, didn't know he could go in there. And, we need another sign. Also, when it said full, it said use the economy lot. Which seems like
That's the old
maybe
sign.
some left over from the past.
I just made eye contact with Sean. He's making this.
Maybe it should say use the east lot, yeah, east garage. On a positive note, I knew Ed Stimpson pretty well, and not only did he have this array of awards and qualifications, but he was just a really nice guy, down to earth, and if there was ever anybody that wasn't full of himself, it was Ed. And I'm happy to hear about that news. Thank you.
Hit 5 airports in the last 4 days, and Boise is still the best place to. So well done to all of you. It's always good to get out in the world and see what's out there, but you guys are rocking it. So thank you very much for what you do.
Congratulations, Phil, for representing us. I'm sure you will do as well. Also, yeah, Ed was what we call a prince of a man and a gentleman in every way, and didn't see any obstacles in front of him, always believed that there is a way, and we would not have the tower if it were not for Ed. That's a fact. He had to pull a lot of strings back in DC to make that happen. And I was fortunate to be there at his he and his wife sponsored a sort of farewell to Ed at his home when he was really suffering. And, but you know, like often happens when people know they're at end of life, he just rallied to the cause for that event. And several of us who were on the commission at the time were able to chat with him, and it was a matter of days after that. So really special that he was willing to open himself up to say goodbye. Not everybody. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you.
you, Mike. I don't know, Ed, but it's a good reminder of the people who do so much work before us that we get to reap those benefits. So we should probably remember that. I want to thank Bill for serving as commission chair for last year. I'll do my best to fill all big shoes. I was gone last month on rafting on the Fork and Salmon, so that's what happens when you miss a meeting, I guess. So, yeah, I want to introduce Miles. Miles is a senior at Boise High. He has flown more airplanes than probably everybody in this room combined. He got his license on his 17th birthday, which is the earliest you can get it. So Miles is a really sharp young man, and I look forward to his and younger people's perspective, because that's who we need to listen to, because they're going to be taking care of us. So thank you for reinstating the student commissioner. We had this before COVID, I think, and I think it's important to continue that up. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, I want to welcome you, Miles. It's exciting to have you here. We've had a very busy month with industry events through September, and I know the airport played a role in a lot of those. And they came from all over. We had some international attendees, but I did want to say that the other thing that's been happening here for a number of years is these city tours, which are other cities coming to Boise and checking out. They either feel like they're about 10 or 20 years from where Boise is today. They want to learn from all the different elements of the city. And I have the pleasure of being on a panel for the Northern Colorado contingency. Last week, there were about 50 people that came from there with Rebecca. So it was great. It was actually an airport specific panel. And I have the visit Boise perspective, but everyone else, they were the experts. There was Rebecca and Sean Keithley from the economic development side, and then Charity from Adler. So that was really great to be a part of. And then I also want to congratulate Rebecca and Amy and the team for the Black Market Gelato. That was exciting to be at, and it's really great to see that come to fruition.
Oh, no, my name is Miles, and I think my first flight out of the GA wing of the airport was 2 weeks old, so I've been flying out of this airport my whole life, and excited to be a little bit more of a part of it than just someone who uses the great facilities. And yeah, I'm super excited. You guys have all been so welcoming onto the commission, super nice, and I really appreciate you guys having me.
Miles. Thank you. Mayor Nancolis, I think you're up.
Well, good morning and thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you to the commissioners. I apologize for not being there in person. I have the responsibility to take my little granddaughter to school in the mornings, and by the time I get her to school and try to fight the battles sometimes of traffic, sometimes it's just hard for me to get there, and I apologize. It's not because I don't want to be, it's just circumstances. And as I'm talking, if you hear another little voice in the background, we have a brand new little 9-week-old who is now in our home, and she keeps us tired but happy. Miles, welcome to the commission. It's amazing to see youth representation on this commission, and I look forward to meeting you the next time I'm able to get there, and I will try my best each month to get there. I did have the opportunity to travel one time this past month. We took our granddaughters to the Ed Sheeran concert, which, by the way, was canceled 5 minutes after it was supposed to start. It was frustrating, but it's just, our airport is amazing. Getting through security, the welcoming personnel, both at the counter, staff. I am just so proud of our airport and the way they function. So congratulations to Rebecca, staff, everybody that makes the Boise airport just the best airport around. It's amazing. I also had the opportunity to reach out to Rebecca as in my capacity working with Ball Ventures Alquist, but also as a commissioner. And I just want to say thank you to Rebecca and publicly let her know how much I appreciate. She calls back, she's responsive, she is helpful. And that is just a treat to be able to work with someone as professional, as well respected as Rebecca is. And of course, everyone that works with her. So thank you to Rebecca for making this individual feel important. And I just want to say thank you to everyone. It's an honor to serve with all of you. Again, I look forward to being there, and I apologize for not being there today. And that's my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, if we don't have any more commissioner comments, I think next is Amy.
All right, well, I will do a very brief intro. Amy needs no introductions, but I think last time I mentioned, but I don't think Amy was actually here. Amy, we recently promoted to the manager of business development. And as you all know, if you've worked with Amy at all, you will know she's fabulous. I try to keep up with her. So nothing is probably more important to the traveling public other than parking than concessions. And Amy is going to talk to us about concessions. Our concession contracts are up in October of 24. So Amy's going to talk to you about our plan and our strategy.
Thank you, Rebecca. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the commission. This morning's just a briefing on our food and beverage and retail concession program assessment and request for proposal planning. I'd like to introduce to you online Sue and Obi Schooley of SI Partners. They are our concession consultant, and Sue's joining us. She did a lot of the work that's in this presentation, and then if there's some questions I can't answer, maybe we can tag team it. But welcome, Sue.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting us.
And I'd also, I don't know if Dave's here. I was going to introduce Dave Barn of my team that's helping as well. He was pretty integral in getting together one of our first ACDBE certification outreach webinars that we held last week. So
Maybe you want to mention our existing concessionaires.
yeah. Yes. So I'd like to introduce Bill and Tara. So Bill is with Delaware North, our food and beverage concessionaire, and Tara is the manager of Parodies Lagardère, who's our gift and convenience shop managers, several. But we'll go through that more as we do the presentation. I would also, as we go through the presentation, I would like to request the Airport Commission think of some one or two areas you believe are most important part of the program, and maybe we can follow up after the presentation so we can make sure we have your input as well, because we look forward to your feedback. So this morning, we're just going to review this following information. We're going to talk a little bit about the current program. Talk a little bit about concession trends and then discuss what our thoughts are for the new program. So as we were discussing, our current concessionaires are Parady's Lagardère in the gift and convenience realm, and then Delaware North, who is food and beverage, and they also do our conference center catering and currently our in-flight catering. They have 10-year contracts that expire the end of next September. Contracts were awarded based on a public solicitation, which is normal. RFP stands for request for proposal. So that's, when we reference RFP, that's what we're discussing. We do own our own liquor license for the terminal. It's a special license through the state. It's an airport liquor license and it's for the airport premises as a whole. In this instance, Parady's Lagardère has their own retail beer and wine license separate from our liquor license. So we keep the two gift shops that they sell the liquor or the beer and wine separate from our liquor license. And that is basically a way that they address our regional, part of the regional gift package that they offer. The next slide is very busy, sorry, but I like it. And I did not make this years ago. Somebody made it and then Sean has helped me fix it as necessary. But in a nutshell, our current program, the food and beverage has, sorry, I'm gonna put my readers on, 11,344 square feet, and the current retail program has 4,590, there could be 698, somewhere around there, square feet. So we did close the pre-security gift shop to expand our checkpoint. And so we basically have the pre-security location, the central core, which we call the food court, the central core, and then we have concourse B and then concourse C. So that's kind of the makeup of the current program. 2 retail units are currently closed. The permanent closure of the pre-security gift shop for the checkpoint, and then Forever Heather closed during COVID. And we, because we were still in recovery, we did not go out to find a replacement for that location, because we knew that we were going to be issuing an RFP shortly. So those are the closures, but everything else is fully open. It took a while to recover. We just recently have everything fully open. So I'm pretty excited with the program as we have now. So that's the existing program. And then we've done some program performance and benchmarking as part of this process. So you've seen the concession report that we do each month, and we also do a benchmark report. In Boise, we just basically benchmark revenue per enplanement, and that's gross revenue from the concessionaire that they make per enplanement. There are other matrices that would be the sales, or revenue per square foot, and we do participate in some national surveys where we quantify that. And then a utilization factor, which is the concession square foot per 1,000 enplanements. And the goal is to have a balanced program. And so Sue did some analysis on these factors for us to see if we to just check and see where our program was. So we do want to caution everybody that when you're benchmarking airports, no 2 airports are alike. There's many factors distinguishing airport concession programs. Business versus leisure traffic, passengers or originating airport, dwell time and walking distance, passenger demographics, and specific to concessions are the location, visibility and accessibility, size and configuration of spaces, age of programs, design and attractiveness of units, and then the concepts, of course. So that is just a caution before we go to the next slide. So these are really tiny as well, but we took as many of our top 10 airports that we use to benchmark ourselves against for other factors as we could. So we do have Reno, Charleston, El Paso, Spokane, Tucson. But there were others that don't participate in those industry surveys, so we did add some other airports in that were very similar. We had several discussions on which airports to add in. But in a nutshell, we just, again, this is just to be taken with a grain of salt. And this was calendar year 2019, because again, 2020 and 2021 and still 2022 are still recovery years. So this was a year when we were still a small hub, Reno was still a small hub. So it's, you know, to be taken with a grain of salt, but this kind of helps see how the program is doing. As another analysis, I just took a quick look at 2023 for the first 8 months, because we just have through August. And all food and beverage being reopened with the sales are trending 37% over 2019. With sales per employment up about 19% over 2019, while the employments are up about a little over 15%. So we are doing better than the employment growth on food and beverage.
Amy, this presentation will be posted online later, so even though it's small print, if people are interested, they will be able to access it later.
And then on to Gifted News, again with the same peer airports. So even with the closure of the Free Security Store and Forever Heather, the 2023 sales numbers as of August are trending up 38% above 2019. Sales per employment are almost up 20%. So, and again, these numbers that are up on the slide are from the 2019 numbers, but it kind of just shows how the program is doing with those particular peer airports. So concession trends. So food and beverage on a whole needs more space versus retail. Because they have the kitchens and the commissaries and all that. Folks are starting to look for experiential food and beverage with breweries and distilleries with tastings, and I'm not saying starting, that's probably been happening for a while. Coffee continues to increase in popularity. Innovative vending such as Farmer's Fridge, CVS, Lily's Coffee, and then technology is evolving with app-based and remote ordering and self-service. For retail, standalone specialty retail stores are in decline due to the Amazon factor and price comparisons. And instead of standalones, especially retail store within a store concepts are gaining popularity. So in Boise right now, you might think of the Brighton as a store within a store. So in our central food court area, the Greenbelt magazine store has a Brighton store within a store. They also have a component with electronics. That's a store within a store. So that's kind of the trend that's gaining popularity over like the standalone Brooks Brothers store. Which I don't think Boise is quite big enough to support something like that anyway. So for all concessions, the increase in local concepts, including locally sourced merchandise in retail shops, and then national brands are important. And that's one thing I want everybody to keep in mind. A good mix is important of national and local, because passengers equate pricing, quality, and service with a brand name. So there's some factors impacting the industry. It's kind of a tough situation right now with labor shortages, high labor costs, higher construction costs, and supply chain shortages. Higher interest rates are increasing the cost of capital. Industry mergers are resulting in less competition, and many major industry operators are now in both food and beverage and retail. So Parity's, Lagardère, and Delaware North do both, as do other entities. In fact, there was just a big merger with HMS Host and Hudson. So they are one company now. Because of the factors above, operators are more selectively responding to RFPs, and all the conferences that I attend, all the conferences Rebecca attend, we try to get the word out there about Boise, how great Boise is, because we want the competition. We want people coming in and proposing on our program. So, on to our thoughts on the new program. So this is kind of an important area where we're going to talk about the program goals and appreciate any feedback on that. These are in no particular order as listed. And many of them are the same that we had in our previous program, but we have added some new ones. So creating a sense of place through concepts, merchandise, and designs. Maximizing revenues, sales and rental revenues, providing the highest quality customer service. Can't say that more often. Cater to the passengers' desires by increasing the product offerings, providing a mix of national, regional, local concepts and brands, and embrace progress by promoting innovation and creativity. Utilize technology to expand offerings and promote self-service to expedite customer service. And then we want to encourage sustainability and encourage diversity. Yes.
Amy, being the person who pushed the hardest for this being a gateway to the city of the last contract. I would just suggest that I think it's still a very important consideration that we give more than adequate nod to our local folks. Because it is the gateway to our community. And for many people, it's the first view of all the diversity and cool stuff we have going on. So I would suggest to rethink, provide a mix of national, regional, local. And I personally would say it differently. I would say provide a strong emphasis on local concepts balanced with a mix of national, regional. I would start there first. Because I know we had some experiments didn't go like perfectly with the local coffee people, but I still think that keeping that in mind, given the uniqueness of Boise and more people traveling in here from other cities, for me, it's really important. So I just ask you to give it consideration. Thank you.
So we did a space requirement analysis. So the factors informing was looking at the historical emplanements and the breakdown of our concourse. Obviously keeping in mind that we will be during the term of this contract having a new concourse constructed. So future emplanement forecast during the contract term, which we will be, we believe will be a little bit longer. So it'll be 10 years from the dates. We'll set that based upon a schedule, but the date the store is open rather than the contract is signed. So like date of beneficial occupancy. And that gives them a little bit more time to recoup their capital investment. And we also looked at the performance of the existing spaces and then our benchmarking statistics. So Concourse B currently has around 71% of passengers and Concourse C has around 28% of the passengers. So that was taken into consideration as well. And so then on the square foot requirement analysis, taken into consideration the entire term of the new contract and the years that we're going to be in our forecasted passengers, we're shy about 6,700 square feet, which we do not have. So in 2014, we added the gift and convenience kiosk at the end of B and a gift shop on C, but did not increase the food and beverage. So we are taking a look at increasing the food and beverage locations in the terminal. So because of Concourse A, we're going to focus on the central core. So we're investigating I'm going to use my pointer Rebecca that Matt gave me. I inherited from Matt Pataya. Try not to get anybody in the eyes. So right where that the fireplace, which is now an art piece that's right here in the food court, we are working with CSHQA to see what can be put here, like what the floor loads and everything and what type of concession could be put there, but we're considering a coffee shop in that area. We also have, what you cannot see on here, it's to the right, but it is the old Forever Heather and the current Art Source space. That's 1,500 square feet. And then we're going to take a look at the Shoe Shine location and see if we can get additional square foot there. And then down on, and then see if there is anything else in the center core. And then down on C, you can kind of see there was there's a current coffee shop called Harvest and Grounds, but next to it, you can see that was always historically identified as another concession space. So see how big that could be and what could be accommodated in that area. So that is not getting us to even the 4,500 square feet additional for food and beverage, but at least it's trying to get us a little bit more space for food and beverage, at least to get us through until Concourse A is constructed. We don't want to have a lot of capital investment put into Concourse B for new locations. We want to refresh the current locations just because we don't know yet what the passenger mix will be on A. So now to our leasing and strategy and RFP process. So just a quick note that there will be a prohibition on lobbying city officials, including the airport commission and city staff members and the city council. And so we just want to kind of give you a heads up on that, because that can be a really big problem if there's any lobbying going on. It can become political and we don't want that to happen. So we just completely flat out prohibit it. And any of the potential operators coming to town have been informed of that. So our leasing strategy, so the terminal is now 20 years old, with Concourse B refreshed sometime around probably 2006 to 2008 was when we put in the terrazzo tiles and the stainless steel and we did the restrooms. So it's hard to believe that it's already been 20 years. So we are going to require a complete redevelopment of existing units in addition to the new spaces. So it's going to be a little bit more capital intensive. We are at this time planning on 2 separate packages, one food and beverage, one gift and news, because of the federal requirements for ACDBE, Airport Concession Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. You cannot grant a long-term exclusive contract, which would be a contract over 5 years. So we are working with our consultants to split it out. So the FAA would not allow us to grant one prime concessionaire, the food and beverage and the gift and news package. So that's our thoughts on the 2 separate packages. We did take a look at this. We really didn't have enough to possibly say, okay, this, because we are so short on space, this particular location we could preserve for just a standalone, because it is so hard and expensive to operate at an airport. It's capital intensive. Sue's given us some stories where she's gone out to try to get local operators that say, well, I'd rather partner with a prime because I don't have to staff it from 3:30 in the morning till midnight and badging and parking. And so that was kind of where that strategy came from. And again, we're open to hearing more if you guys have a different idea. But and then we will make sure we address quite clearly in the contract, the document, the RFP itself, and in any pre-proposal meetings about the fact that Concourse A will be coming on in midterm, so that they're fully aware of what's going to be happening. So that's our leasing strategy as it stands now. And then we're going to have, so these were our thoughts: pre-security unit, a popular local or national concept, because it's really rough to operate pre-security. So we need to be able to let them make enough money to make it a viable location. And so we would encourage them to offer delivery service to passengers on the post-secure side via an app. Encourage all operators to offer app-based ordering for pickup or delivery from all units. Require proposal of multiple quick serve units proposed for the center core, because we are heavy busy in the morning and nobody likes those lines. So we need more quick service. units, and we're gonna be a little more specific, you know, a minimum of 3, all locations open, offer breakfast. And then we'll have the new coffee in the center core and a new cafe bar on Concourse C. And then we're gonna identify areas for vending a little bit, more specifically. And then, of course, we'll continue to offer the airport catering center, conference center catering, and we're gonna require prepackaged grab and go and sit down restaurant and coffee locations. Because this will all help with that need for the addition of more food and beverage. And then for the retail. Yes.
Quick question for you, Amy. Have you done analysis on how many people actually sit down at the restaurant and eat versus the grab and go? Because it seems like I rarely see people sitting down and eating. Most of them will grab their food and go to the gate. Do you break it out in that way at all? Because I think your last point was spot on.
I think that it just depends on the passenger mix, but we have not specifically analyzed that, but we do know that the sit-down restaurants are very busy.
Yeah.
And you can tell by our alcohol sales. So we're talking bartending and cross grains. Now, the pre-security is a little bit different. So we might be discussing reconcepting, you know, having more heavily coffee-based with the bar, you know. It'd be interesting to see the concepts for that, but I don't know, Bill, can you? I don't think.
Yeah, in the morning, you're exactly right. The quick service restaurants, everybody's going to those. By afternoon, cross grain, Bardenay, they'll be on a wait most of the days throughout the day. Especially between 11 and 2, and then in 5 to 7. We run out of seating there.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's the danger of taking your own experience and trying to relate that to success, because I always leave early and arrive late. So I miss those, but that's interesting.
Yeah, and so you're seeing the big weights, and that's where we're hoping that quick serve. The food court also is good. So the food court itself is kind of a good extension, because you can flow into that if you need to. But yeah, I think really we're needing quite a bit more quick serve.
Yeah.
Especially in the morning.
One follow-up question, if I may. Do you think Concourse A will mimic Concourse B in your mix? Or are you going to try and make something different? Because Concourse A is not going to look like Concourse B, right?
Right. I think we have yet to determine what is going to happen with Concourse A, depending on the design of it. We're not quite sure if it could stand alone on its own, because it's, like I said, it's capital intensive and labor intensive, so it might be better to be combined with the package. What would be then pre-existing package, but we'll know more as we get further into the design. The designs that, it all depends on the passenger mix and the passenger numbers on A. And then also we will be closing down B to remodel it, so then A will be used more heavily as well. So I think the way it is designed, I think it could be as intensive as A. I know, like, Bill would love way more space at cross grains on B, but you can't expand it because it's an airline gate. There's no place, you know, unless you were to bump it out, which we could in the future, but right now. So I think that this analysis that Sue and OB have done is really important to realize that we need that much more food and beverage. I mean, we're just growing everywhere too fast, but it's great. It's great.
Thank you. You got a really innovative engineer on board. So we have had him. You have a big brain, so. Thank you.
Oh, we do want to provide retail vending in the pre and post security sides of terminal, co-loading with food and beverage, especially where we close down the only gifting convenience pre-security. I think we can get some innovative things going on in the meter greeter lobby, in the baggage claim, just to kind of reflect that. We are going to, and we have already, because they do have a great partnership with Create Common Good for the grab and go foods, which really saved us during COVID. Let me say, but we're going to again encourage prepackaged grab and go food, beverage, snack items in the stores as well to complement. So preparing for the RFP process, I was making sure I went through everything on that one. So preparing for the RFP process, outreach meetings. So we just completed a certification outreach to potential ACDBEs in partnership with the Idaho Transportation Department Civil Rights Division. We have a UCP, a uniform certification program that ITD does all the certification for ACDBEs as well as DBEs. So there are certain criteria to become an ACDBE. So we do hope to, in the near future, provide concession 101 session to local and ACDBE operators. We'd also like to set a date for a meet and greet with any of the prime operators that would be interested. Some of you may be aware, I know Commissioner Westergaard is, a lot of these companies are already in town. They have been to town multiple times and met with people. So we should have possibly pushed out the word a little earlier because people don't know if they're real companies or not. So we are working to create an FAQ and we're going to get it out to the local chambers and restaurant and retail organizations just to let them know what we're doing, give them the names of the companies so that they know. Although if anybody approaches anybody, you can Google these companies' names and they'll come up. I mean, you'll be able to tell they're legitimate companies, but they have been in town and they've been reaching out to local operators already. So the key business terms, we're going to have minimum qualifications. So because it's an RFP, it is not 100% financial based. We're looking at all those program goals, not just the financial packet. So we're going to have minimum qualifications. Again, they'll only be able to be awarded one of the two packages. The term would be 10 years after date of beneficial occupancy. Percentage rent, the minimum would be established and then they can propose additional percentage. The first year minimum annual guarantee will be established. The pricing policy, and some of you may have seen this at other airports, but some airports go with street pricing. We're going street plus 10. It is a little bit harder to work at an airport. It's a little more expensive than working on the street side. So we're allowing street plus 10. That's our proposal. Minimum capital investment will be required. That prevents us from having just a little pegboard with things hanging on it. You know, we do have a tenant design standards that we're taking a look at and updating, so they have to follow the tenant design standards. And then we will have a midterm refurbishment as well, just like we did with this current program.
For the date of beneficial occupancy, is there going to be a term, like it must not exceed
Yes.
so long until I get
Yes.
the product ready?
And so when they submit their proposal, they will submit a transition plan, because what they'll come in, they'll start operating October 1st, 2024 in temporary facilities. And they'll explain in their proposal what they plan to do. So say, for instance, Delaware North immediately closed down where Einstein is and started on Einstein and started, I forget the other store they started. The rest of them they ran as temporary facilities, and then they just phased them in. So we will have that in the proposals, and that'll be ranked as well as to what their transition plan will be.
We'll also have, as far as key business terms, hours of operation. Just
Yes.
hours?
So typically, and I haven't talked to Sue about this, but we can discuss it, but typically you require them to be open 1 hour prior to scheduled departure. And then up to the last scheduled departure. And then because you get your food and beverages on enplanements, not deplanements. So then you get, I was thinking, you get kind of, I think our current contract says if there is a a delay. So if a flight's been delayed, they need to keep open something. And so usually they'll triage it based on, if it's Southwest, they'll maybe keep Cross Grains open, and then Parodies, they'll keep the food court or the concourse B. But if it's Horizon, then they'll probably keep something in the food court open. I'm sorry, Alaska. So they'll keep something in the food court open. But in the past, we've been fairly flexible too, especially if there's one flight only and it's at midnight, just so long as there's a gift shop and there's a food and beverage open. That's kind of what we've done. But I haven't talked to Sue about that to see, we will make sure that we're doing what's industry standard. For our draft evaluation criteria, you can't see that these are in order.
I've moved it on my screen, but it doesn't move it on the big screen.
So I'll just tell you real quickly, it's 30 points, 20 points, 15, 15, 15, and 5. So this is our initial thought, proposed concept plan, which would include their concepts, menus, merchandise, price points, sense of place, etc. Design and quality of tenant improvements, which would be the layout of units, design and proposed capital investment, transition and phasing plan, including the schedule. So those are the highest rank. So those would be 50%. And then we would have experience qualifications, management, marketing, operations, and technology plan, rent, and then the business plan, which is their projected gross revenue, performance, and financial capability. So that is our thoughts on the draft evaluation criteria. And now we're on to the draft RFP timeline. So basically, I know this is really tiny, but due to the long lead time for equipment and supplies, as well as the need for the concession operators to develop plans, award construction contracts, obtain permits, we need to keep a pretty tight schedule with the issuing of the RFP right after the holidays. So we hope to get the RFP on the streets January 2nd. We hope to tighten up items 7 through 9 as we finalize the schedule, because what we want to do is get the contracts awarded and give a concessionaire enough time before October 1 as possible. So, and again, the selected proposals will have a phasing plan and a schedule, which will determine the opening of the new units. So the new unit opening would be based upon this item number 13 means like the very last unit would be opened by hopefully sometime in 2025. So
This is not this is just. Right, this B and C.
yes, oh yes. So now we're to any additional questions, comments?
Yes, Amy, if we are contacted by some local, because that happened to me last time, a local person said, hey, I hear this RFP's coming up. How can you help me? I cannot, but what exactly, if they want to be referred to someone, is it you? Who do you want us to refer them to and say, I can't help you? There's no lobbying in place, but you're certainly welcome to go here to get more information. Should we send them to the website? What?
I think at this point in time, you can send them to me and we'll direct them. My team is keeping a list of all interested parties and we're making sure we communicate with them. Right now, we started out with the ACDDE, but we'll be starting with all interested parties with the concession 101 and letting them know. And then when we get that FAQ, we'll make sure you all have a copy of that FAQ. And yeah, I think at this point in time, they could go, our website does have a form if they are interested under business. So we have the traveler tab and the business tab. Under the business tab, it's right there. They're interested concessionaires and they can fill out a form there, but they can also contact.
That's a great point, Meg. We can also come up with some talking points for commission and just sort of a general, if you get asked this question, this would be our recommended response. And we should do that for commission and also probably for city council. Look, Kelly.
I'm writing it down.
Maybe, can you go back to the slide of the criteria?
Maybe.
I guess I didn't see, I know you said one of the high level, items that's important is customer service. Is that gonna be affected in some way? Because I think especially if it's a local company that's going to be working through whoever the operator is, that reflects on their business. And so I know that's.
Yes, and it is usually under item number 4, the management, marketing, operations. They actually would provide their staffing plans and their training materials. Is that right, Sue, in that area? The management, marketing, operations plan?
Yes. The staffing plan would be included in that, as well as technology and what they're doing to expedite customer service.
But I think that I take what you're saying, and I think we should be a little more clear. So these will all equate back to a section in the RFP that defines what we want them to provide us. So we'll make sure that we're clear that we're interested in their customer service.
Madam Chair, follow up to that question. It might be helpful to get their history of reviews and ratings, which is a strong reflection on their commitment to customer service.
Yeah, well, sometimes they'll send you the Yelp, but only if it's good, you know, that gets included in their proposal. But yeah, you're right, we could. Yeah.
That was a great report, good information for the commission, I think. I thought it was interesting looking at, what was sent out to us for concession revenue. You know, I was kind of shocked when I saw that the bagel place had more revenue than Bardenay for food. But then I looked at the Bardenay's alcohol and it dwarfed both.
Yeah.
So that was dynamic. I think the coffee bar idea is a great idea, and I have to say that I've traveled through a lot of airports lately, and I never cease to be amazed by the lines at Starbucks. I mean, so I don't know if maybe that's a possibility, if we're missing out. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, can I just do a quick poll of commission? Starbucks, no Starbucks?
I would say yes, because
I'm an addict.
I would say yes.
Doesn't matter, it's as long as it's coffee all day.
Yeah.
I would say yes, but I do love the emphasis on local.
You love what?
The emphasis on local businesses, just because we.
I think
tout
we
that
could have
all the
both.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think you
A local
agree.
coffee and a
Maya, do you
national.
have an opinion? Starbucks, no Starbucks?
I mean, it'd probably bring in some good revenue.
I think so.
Mayor Nicholas, Starbucks or no Starbucks?
Every airport I've been in has lines clear down the corridor to Starbucks. So I just think from a revenue standpoint, as well as customer desire, Starbucks would be a great addition.
I rest my case.
It's also a barometer of quality overall for all the concessions. It's like one of those markers.
Yeah.
You are significant because you got a Starbucks.
Yeah, that's right.
Starbucks did reach out to us and wanted to help us with our RFP.
Okay,
Oh, I'm sure they did. We thought that was quite interesting.
It's
Like,
good.
wait a minute.
Amy,
Yes.
Amy, if I could just say a couple of things about Starbucks and national name brand coffees. While local has been emphasized over the years at airports, and you're seeing many more local coffee shops and local restaurants, still Starbucks and the national name brand coffee is by far generates the most revenues, and that's what passengers are seeking. And on survey after survey, that's what they're asking for. So it's not a matter of ignoring local, because we want to include local concepts in the program. We'll require it through the RFP process, but we also want to address passenger preferences and what they're looking for. So we'll have a balance.
I really agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the anticipated completion date for Concourse A?
Gosh, we don't have that, do
That's
we?
an excellent question.
You're late.
So I would say, we're hopeful for, I'll look at our new deputy director of engineering. We're hopeful that we'll have it within the next 5 years. So it's contingent upon the construction of our car rental facility, which is about a 2-year timeline. And then we'll have to actually build the concourse. So we might be able to open it in phases. We don't have that yet, but it's probably a good 4 to 5 years.
Okay. Couple more questions. What's the composition of the evaluation committee gonna be?
To be determined. But
We haven't decided. We will have people from, obviously from our team on board. Last time we did have a representative from the airport commission on board, so that is something that we intend to talk to our chair about and get a recommendation.
last time we had an airline, but I'm not sure if our station managers would have the time. We'd have to see.
But so we usually have a local stakeholder, like our airline, a representative from the commission, and then some airport
good.
staff.
Okay, last question. Just wondering if you've ever had any interest from operators of airport lounges, what be it for an airline, which I doubt would work, but Alaska might, because they've got the most traffic, or an independent lounge operator. And the one that comes to mind to me is the San Jose Airport has 2 independently run lounges that aren't affiliated with any airline called the Club SJC.
Madam Chair, also Priority Pass, which I'm a member of. It comes with, elite credit card spending. Amex, American Express, but those Priority Pass partner with such local clubs. And you get access and there's like a use fee of $30. So, and they're everywhere, all over.
Madam Chair, Commissioners Vasconcelos and Carlson, yes, in fact, members of the public, right, Shauna? Have expressed an interest in the lounge. So we met with the members of the public. We also have operators of common lounges express an interest in the Boise Airport. The amount of square footage they would like, we can't accommodate. However, we are again talking with CSHQA to see where we could possibly fit one, because they say you can put a lounge in an area that is not a prime location and people will find it. So we're looking at locations that would not be part of this package. We would need to make that decision prior to the RFP though, because we need to let the food and beverage operator know that we have a lounge. It's my understanding from the research that I've done, it doesn't affect the food and beverage that much. The only tricky thing is the liquor license. So we did talk to the ABC, the Alcohol Bureau Control. They would have to get their own like beer, wine, liquor license. So it would not be liquor. It would be like the canned, margarita, beer, wine stuff. And I talked to some of the operators of lounges and they said that would not be a problem. So we still have to figure out if we have room for a lounge and if, and then that would be a separate contract.
I would think they could sell liquor under the airport's liquor license.
No, we lease our liquor license. I'm sorry, I should have been specific. We lease our liquor license to the food and beverage operator. That's how they sell the liquor. And it can only be leased to one entity. So they could either acquire the liquor from the food and beverage operator, which likely they would purchase food from the food and beverage operator because there's probably not going to be enough room for a kitchen. So they could organize it that way, or they could just get their own beer, wine, separate license, so.
Okay, and it seems like when you go past Smash Burger and on your left, there's a bunch of windows and there's a parking lot behind it. And it seems like that's a big empty space that could have a lounge in it.
Yeah, we are investigating locations.
Okay,
It is on our radar.
thank you.
There's also lots of other space in B conference that isn't heavily. Game room. Some other things.
Not very big.
We're all full of opinions today.
Information.
Any other questions?
Fair.
Yes.
Was I correct that there was a 5-month period of allowance for the newly leased companies to rebuild or to set up their store?
They're gonna need longer than that,
Right.
but that is for them to get the plans finalized and the permits and all that, because they will have to get all their permits to begin. They need to get their liquor, they need to get the liquor license transferred, they need to get the building permits and the designs finalized so that on October 1, they can put up the walls that they need to put up for the construction and then operate the temporary facilities.
Right, so there was a start in September and it just seemed like a 5-month
Yes.
lull between the end of lease straight into the
Well, they'll be
holiday.
very busy. So, and actually, we would try to push that up to give them even more time.
Right, so
so-
start those new leases, like their plans and everything earlier so that they were.
So hypothetically, sending it to city council in July, we try to send it in June, just to give them another month. But again, we'll have to have the time to review the packages and all that. So that's where that 7 through 9, we'll try and compress that time period. And once you see the actual, where you can read the schedule.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you. Fantastic. Appreciate it. Thanks, Rebecca. You guys have your work cut out for you. So the next item on our agenda is any input from the public, online and in person. So if you do have an opportunity to speak, please come up to the podium and you've got 5 minutes. So if there's anybody online or here, welcome. Well, that was easy. I think that concludes the items on our agenda today. Can I have a?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I move that this meeting of the Boise Airport Commission be adjourned.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Fine.
Thank you, everybody. I know we ran a little bit late today, but that's important stuff. So I appreciate everyone's time and everyone online as well. Thank you for coming.